Poems by Erin Hanson. She smelt of books and stories, of all the worlds she'd lived within, as though the ink had left the pages to find a new home in her skin. She didn't quite belong here, lived a life within her head, like she'd slipped out from the covers of a paperback instead, and you'd see it in her eyes that they were deeper than a well. She was a whole library of stories that would beg of her to tell. When she spoke, the world would listen to the adventures of her mind. For if there's such a thing as magic, then it was something she could find, and her heart had looked much further than her eyes had ever seen. She'd walked on words to places her 2 feet had never been. It's years now since she moved, and we all failed to keep in touch. So her memories all faded, like a book you've read too much. But if she hoped to leave us ink-stained, she should know she did succeed. For even now we all still look for her in every book we read. There is freedom waiting for you on the breezes of the sky. And you ask, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? Welcome to society. We hope you enjoy your stay. And please feel free to be yourself, as long as it's in the right way. Make sure you love your body, not too much, or we'll tear you down. We'll bully you for smiling, and then wonder why you frown. We'll tell you that you're worthless, that you shouldn't make a sound, and then cry with all the others as you're buried in the ground. You can fall in love with anyone, as long as it's who we choose, and we'll let you have your opinions, but please shape them to our views. Welcome to society. We promise that we won't deceive. And one more rule now that you're here, there's no way you can leave. Go ahead and tell me that you know all I can be. You've studied every droplet of my ever-changing sea. But weren't you ever taught that the seas are only where it ends? The things that tell the story are the river's twists and bends. The ocean is in everything. It's part of it, of course. But you cannot judge its currents if you do not know their source. Let me tell the tale of a girl who didn't stop, who climbed up every mountain without a pause upon the top. She danced until each blade of grass was clothed in drops of dew, and the sun knew her by name, but the silver moon did too. For a fear had settled in her bones, a fear of sitting still, that if you're not moving forward, it must mean you never will. So in time her dances got slower, and she looked at all she'd seen, but found gaps inside the places that she'd never fully been. For she was a human doing, human moving, human seeing, but she'd never taken time to simply be a human being. What is the worth of worldly treasures that we're boasting we can find, if we still all need a compass just to get around our mind? Keep your chin up, little stargazer, at worlds above our own. You are small, but you are stardust, and that's worth more than you've known. For every sun and solar flare is made up just like you. And if there cause for wonder, then I promise you are too. Look out, little stargazer, till nothing's left unseen. And know there's not a patch of sky where no one else's eyes have been. That the darkness that enfolds you holds countless other starlit hearts. And with this you stand together, though you live lifetimes apart. Be brave now, little stargazer. The sky is growing light, and courage wanes like moonbeams when it's pulled out from the night. But like those who gazed before you, know when your heart is full of fear, that it is always in your darkness that the stars start to appear. Why must it be so hard for us to come to understand that there are things we cannot change, hidden amongst the things we can? For we can rearrange our hearts, dust out the corners of our minds. We can teach our eyes to see only the things we wish to find. Yet once we decorate our walls and sweep our sorrows off the floor, why do we look to someone else to show us how we can be more? For here is where the line between our can and can't gets tough. The point at which we all must learn that we are already enough. That since we cannot choose the home our only soul was born into, we should rearrange its rooms, but learn to love its window's view. You must teach your sense of self to stand upon its own 2 feet, instead of propped up on the views of every person that you meet. I remember you in fragments. On the breeze your laughter blows, and it dances like a ghost, in and out of my windows. Sometimes it dies down for a day, or I'm forgetting you for weeks. But then the leaves bend on their branches, and your voice's echo speaks. Some days the wind is just a wind, without a memory behind, and I let myself exhale, thinking you've slipped out from my mind, until the sunlight hits the water the way it used to hit your eye, and I must realize nothing ends, simply because you've said goodbye. You are not your age, nor the size of clothes you wear. You are not a weight, or the color of your hair. You are not your name, or the dimples in your cheeks. You are all the books you read, and all the words you speak. You are your croaky morning voice, and the smiles you try to hide. You're the sweetness in your laughter, and every tear you've cried. You're the songs you sing so loudly when you know you're all alone. You're the places that you've been to, and the one that you call home. You're the things that you believe in, and the people that you love. You're the photos in your bedroom, and the future you dream of. You're made of so much beauty, but it seems that you forgot when you decided you were defined by all the things you're not. I've met people trapped in crowds who think that space means you're alone, who find their silence is too deafening to spend much time on their own. They ask how I can hear the whispers if I stand back from the crowd, but surely whispers are drowned out when where you're standing is so loud. If all you see of those around you is the back of someone's head, Don't you think the bigger picture would mean so much more instead? Just like you can't find constellations by looking at a single star, sometimes the world does not make sense until you watch it from afar. Space does not mean you're empty, it just means you have room to grow. It doesn't mean you must be lonely, for there's more people you can know. Because the space between two beats just shows you have a working heart, and it's the only way to tell if you're apart or are apart. I'll plant a row of daisy seeds in the space below each eye, so they'll remind you of your beauty when they bloom each time you cry. I was the type of person that held onto things too tight, unable to release my grip, but it no longer felt right. And although it gave me blisters and my fingers would all ache, I always thought that holding on was worth the pain it takes. I used to think in losing things, I'd lose part of me too. That slowly I'd become someone my heart no longer knew. Then one day something happened. I dropped what I had once held dear, but my soul became much lighter instead of filled with fear. And it taught my heart that some things aren't meant to last for long. They arrive to teach you lessons and then continue on. You don't have to cling to people who no longer make you smile, or do something you've come to hate if it isn't worth your while. That sometimes the things you're fighting for isn't worth the cost, and not everything you ever lose is bound to be a loss. Welcome to society. We hope you enjoy your stay, and please feel free to be yourself, as long as it's in the right way. Make sure you love your body, not too much, or we'll tear you down. We'll bully you for smiling, and then wonder why you frown. We'll tell you that you're worthless, that you shouldn't make a sound, and then cry with all the others as you're buried in the ground. You can fall in love with anyone, as long as it's who we choose, and we'll let you have your opinions, but please shape them to our views. Welcome to society. We promise that we won't deceive. And one more rule now that you're here, there's no way you can leave.